Hey, 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 happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. This is live stream 869. If you are tuning in for the first time, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And normally taking a first look at a game, which is what we'll be doing tonight. Right, because we're going to dive on in and take a first look at Crescendo of Violence from Osprey Games, written by Alan Bahr. And we will be getting into this in just a bit. If you're not overly familiar with the stream, keep in mind we tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So it'll probably be about 35, maybe even 40 minutes before we get into taking a look at Crescendo of Violence. So if you're watching live, just kick back, relax, put your feet up, enjoy yourself. Hopefully you're a subscriber, because then you'll have something you can do while you're watching. But if you watch this stream 30 minutes or more after it ends, there will be timestamps. So if you want to jump past the tabletop gaming news right into Crescendo of Violence, you certainly can. And you'll find those timestamps in the show notes, or depending on the device you happen to be using to watch this, it might be right there on the timeline on your screen. All depends. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. Come on, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Well, this is a live stream. And if you are a subscriber, that means you can take part in chat. That's right, chat. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. Should also point out that you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. So first out the gate tonight is the Motor City Madman himself. Yes, not Ted Nugent. It is the Madman joining us. Testy Trekkies with us, Mr. Eddie T as well. So there's two of our four chat moderators. Kevin R. Smith, Doug Roberts is here. Boris has joined us as well. So chat is off and running. Hopefully the audio's okay. I've been playing around again. Playing around with the audio. Just never satisfied with the audio on these videos. Van Moore is with us once again. Good to see you, Van. Thanks for swing on in and hanging with the gang. So let's jump on into the news, because coming from Pine Box Entertainment is the Weird West edition of Doomtown. Here's the skinny, Podna. Welcome to Doomtown, where you can try to gain control of a Western town set in the Weird West of Deadlands. In this world, cowpokes good and bad wield guns, steampunk gadgets, and spells of all sorts, and death is sometimes just a minor inconvenience. In Deadwood, South Dakota, Eagle Woman that all look at tries to enforce a fragile treaty. Haute Zoo's anarchists fight for the townsfolk that E.B. Farnham's consortium of why didn't I have E.B. Farnham's name roll off of my tongue? It's Deadwood. It's an actual real person who was around in Deadwood. Anyway, the townsfolk that E.B. Farnham's consortium of entrepreneurs are trying to drive out of business. Bass Reeves, the West's most persistent marshal, arrives in pursuit of the notorious outlaw Jessica Patchett, who's trying to escape her bloody past. And out in the Badlands, Ursula's cult prepares to summon the power of the Great Worm. Doomtown Weird West Edition is a poker-driven territory control card game updated from and fully compatible with the 2014 release of Doomtown Reloaded, which was based on the 1998 Origins Award Best Trading Card Game, Deadlands Doomtown, from Alderac Entertainment Group. All aspects of the game that require randomization are controlled via a poker mechanism, as every card has a suit and value. Preparing for the hands you want to draw is as much a part of deck building as choosing the actions and dudes you'll want to play. Your deck is built around an outfit, one of 6 main groups attempting to control Deadwood. Combat is resolved via poker hands. Deciding who goes first is decided by drawing the top 5 cards from your deck, and the lowest poker hand goes first. Players take 1 action each in turn, which can include hiring a new dude, which gets you influence in town, purchasing a new deed, which helps you control the town, shopping for gear for your dudes, or starting a shootout with your opponents to try to remove their influence. When each player passes, you reach sundown for the day. If any player has more control in town than anyone else has influence, you win. Doomtown Weird West Edition is for 1 to 6 players, ages 12 and up, plays in around 30 to 60 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $69.99 when it arrives later this month. I've always been interested in Doomtown. Never had an opportunity to check it out when it was with AEG, because if I remember correctly, I think it was out of print. I don't think AEG was even bothering to support it anymore when I kicked off the Gaming Gang back in 2010. And then we had the Doomlands Reloaded edition come out in 2014. But I'm trying to remember who that was with, because that wasn't AEG. That was somebody else. And it wasn't Pine Box Entertainment either. But this is a new edition of Doomtown, which actually came out, I think, 2019. They kickstarted this. And then this is a newer edition, which I think has more cards. Now, one thing I will point out is that the sell sheet info says the game is for 1 to 6 players. But as far as I understand, Pine Box Entertainment recommends if you want to play with 6 players, that you actually pick up 2 core sets so that you have enough cards to make a complete deck for each faction. It's all I've run across. I don't know if that is a fact or not, but I do want to share that as well. So Sarah D, I believe, is with us. Then again, maybe she's just lurking, because I see Flaming Huron has popped on in saying hello to Sarah D. But it's possible he's just assuming she's, hanging around, like usual, right? So we've got 3 of our 4 chat moderators in the house. So who just said, love me some Doomtown? Tessie Trekkie. I never played it. I haven't had an opportunity to play it, but it does sound pretty cool. And I have always loved the Deadlands setting. I picked that up way back in the day when it first came out. I used to pick up the, what were they? Dime novels, I think they called them, the short adventures that they would come out with. Used to pick all those up. Never ran it. Never played it. But once again, it was another one of those systems that I had a bunch of stuff for. Moving right along, how about a little bit of wargaming news? Because on the horizon from our friends over at GMT Games is Clash of Sovereigns. Here's the scoop. December 1740. Young King Frederick II leads the army of upstart Prussia in a surprise invasion of Austrian Silesia. He hopes for an easy conquest of the rich province at a time when the Austrian Empire appears vulnerable following the death of Charles VI, King of Austria and Holy Roman Emperor. But despite internal opposition to the pragmatic sanction that allowed a woman to inherit the throne, Austria's new queen, Maria Theresa, is cowed neither by Frederick nor by France's scheme to place a Bavarian puppet candidate on the throne of the Holy Roman Empire, nor by Spanish designs on Austria's holdings in Italy. Amid these conflicting dynastic ambitions, Frederick's local territorial coup proves to be only the opening act in a major European war that none of the great powers had anticipated, but all wished to profit from. It's a war that would ultimately span 8 years and half the globe. Clash of Sovereigns, COS for short, GMT's 2 to 4 player card-driven game of the War of the Austrian Succession, has been 9 years in the making. So it's been being designed for about as long as the actual war took place. It is a freewheeling, faster playing, and streamlined nephew of the widely regarded Clash of Monarchs. It features a 12-hour campaign game and 3 shorter scenarios covering 2 to 3 years apiece that can be played to completion in as little as 3 hours. The French, Prussians, and Spanish, Austrians, British, Piedmontese each have their own separate card decks divided into early, middle, and late war periods. There's half a dozen minor powers, which add their own blood and diplomatic wrinkles to the tableau and can sometimes reshape it utterly by switching sides. Leaders are rated for initiative, offense, and defense modifiers and action points. Distinctive national tactics and troop quality factors are captured by Army battle ratings, which evolve over time, and event and battle tactics cards. It's a simple but significant naval subgame included, which simulates naval operations in the Mediterranean and Atlantic, including the annual Bourbon Treasure Fleet's risky voyage home. Or is it Bourbon? I do think it's Bourbon. Colonial conflicts in Canada and India are simulated by event cards. There's design for effect economic factors, which are baked into the event and reinforcement cards, and can therefore be resolved in only a small fraction of the time, which was required by Clash of Monarchs' more complex economic model. Clash of Sovereigns is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in, once again, 3 hours or more, and you can currently order it at the P500 price still, which is $45, and it carries an MSRP of $69. And this strikes me as a game that's got a lot going on for a P500 price of $45. And this is supposed to come out now. I don't know for sure, but distributors are indicating that this is a January release. So if you can still get this for $45 over at GMT Games, and you have any interest in the War of the Austrian Succession, then I would say grab it while you can. Even though, to be honest, $69 sounds like a very fair MSRP for it. Let's see, who else have we had float on in? Russell Higgins is with us. I know we've got somebody else Sarah D has chimed in, who is multitasking, starting a grocery order while listening. Well, don't forget what you need. So, focus more on the grocery order. Shen from Taiwan has joined us as well. I think I've said hello to, Kathy Evans is here. I was going to say, I'm missing somebody. Somebody has floated on in that I did not say hello to. So let's move on to some role-playing game news, because right now you can score big savings on Pelgrane Press's 13th Age fantasy role-playing game. By way of bundle of holding, here's the deets on the deal. Adventurer. This new 13th Age Mega Bundle presents PDFs of the best-selling tabletop fantasy role-playing game, you guessed it, 13th Age, from Pelgrane Press. 13th Age combines the best parts of traditional D20 RPGs with story-focused rules that let you run the kind of game you want. 13th Age gives you unique characters who, through their icon relationships, are immediately embedded in the setting in important ways. Customizable monsters and escalation dice for exciting, fast-moving battles. Especially suited for new 13A players, this bargain-priced mega bundle gives you everything you need to run your own 13th Age campaign in the Dragon Empire. Even if you bought the previous December 2015 or December 2019 13th Age offers, the 6 recent titles which have been added here may still entice you. For just $24.95, you'll get all 9 titles in the starter collection with a retail value of $158 as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete 13th Age core book, plus the free RPG Day Adventure Make Your Own Luck, the 13 True Ways Rules expansion, the Bestiary and Bestiary 2, the Book of Loot and Loot Harder, the Book of Ages, the introductory adventure Crown of Axis, and the Game Master's Screen and Resource Book. It's a whole lot for $24.95. But if you pay more than the current threshold price of $41.57, you'll level up and also get the entire bonus collection with 10 more titles worth an additional $172, including the supplements The Book of Demons and Book of the Underworld, the adventures Shards of the Broken Sky, Elven Towers, Eyes of the Stone Thief, plus the conversion for 5e D&D, and Shadows of Edelon, 3 sets of iconic battle scenes with their accompanying map folios, high magic and low cunning, the crown commands, and Fire and Faith, as well as the 171-page adventure Diamonds and Shadows, a collection of 7 modules from the 13th Age organized play program available exclusively in this offer and nowhere else. How could that be? They would be available somewhere else because they were part of the organized play. I have caught Bundle of Holding in a lie. Can't get it anywhere else, but it was organized play, so, the PDFs in that were available to, those stores. But you can't get this anywhere else. I mean, you can't buy it. I understand that. These savings run through January 11th. 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to the Diana Jones Award Emerging Designer Program. I know. Once again, I have absolutely nothing against this Diana Jones Award Emerging Designer Program, but I say it every time, it's not really a charity. You're not helping sick kids, you're not helping hungry folks. Come on. But this is actually a smoking deal. So Kevin says, Mega Bundle, I might have to see if there's something I didn't get in their first 13th Age bundle many years back. I've always heard good things about 13th Age. Once again, another role-playing game I have not had an opportunity to take a peek at, which, it's funny. I say that a lot. It's sort of like, but I look at a lot of role-playing games. There's just so many hours in a day that you could invest in, exploring different games and doing reviews and things like that. But once again, I've always heard 13th Age is very, very cool. So Kevin can let us know, because it seems like Kevin picked up that bundle a while back. So Kevin says that he wonders if they're going to have a humble bundle as well, since they're supposedly going to kickstart a new edition this year. Wow. Yeah, that's usually an indicator when you suddenly see these PDF bundles arrive for, certain games, and you're like, and then all of a sudden you're like, a month later, oh, hey, I look at Kickstarter, look at that. Pretty cool savings, though. Wancho Dumagol is with us. Welcome aboard. Let's talk about another money-saving bundle, because Free League Publishing has teamed with Humble Bundle to bring you huge savings on both the WotC and Forbidden Lands role-playing games. Here's the dope. Explore dual realms of tabletop role-playing. Journey into folklore and far-flung fantasy in this bundle of tabletop role-playing game books from Free League. Discover realms of Nordic horror in WotC, the grim RPG based on the myths of Scandinavia, plus a book of bone-chilling cases and the Mythic Britain and Ireland expansion. Make your mark on the cursed world of Forbidden Lands, the open-world survival fantasy RPG, along with a campaign book, adventures, and more resources to enhance your party's experience. Bring new adventures to your next role-playing session and help support Direct Relief with your purchase. You can score the first trio of WotC releases, which includes the core book, and, from what I can tell, the entire Forbidden Lands line. So this all carries an MSRP, or I guess we'll say a retail value, of $159. You can score all of this for a donation of $18 or more. These savings do last through January 19th. I want to point out, Forbidden Lands was one of my favorite games of, when did it come out? 2017, I think, if I remember correctly. I really, really like it. It's an old school Renaissance game that utilizes a modified year one engine. So I thought it was very, very cool. So very, very nice. But I think Forbidden Lands is dead. I don't know that for a fact, but I think it is dead because of Dragonbane. I think Dragonbane is going to be Free League Publishing's big fantasy RPG. I think they're going to, because they just did a big Kickstarter. It's I believe it's a Swedish role-playing game, which is I'm not even going to try to pronounce the actual title of it, but it's translated into English as Dragonbane. So, like I said, I kind of think Forbidden Lands is kind of no more. Flaming Heron said, really liking WotC and Forbidden Lands. Might need to snap this one up. Kevin says, since I asked about 13th Age, in addition to what the press release says, or that sell sheet info from Bundle of Holding, the game has a combat system which is designed for theater of the mind. Kevin says, ooh, I played Forbidden Lands at AcadeCon, and it's really cool if you like dangerous, old school style gaming, even though it's year zero engine. Yep. Yeah, I really like it. One of the aspects of Forbidden Lands that I really dig is if you had gotten the box set, which is how it originally came out, was as a box set. And it is hardcover books. But the box set has a map inside and it's got stickers. And there's all these different locations, but those locations are essentially where your players find these places. They're not set in stone. So it's kind of cool. So Kevin also points out 13th Age also has some rules you can port or adapt to other D&D editions, like the escalation die, alternate rules for refreshing daily abilities, etc. So Disavowed 92 is with us. Wancho says original name for Dragonbane is Dragons and Demons. Yeah, but I'm what I mean is it's the foreign language I'm not going to try to pronounce. Final news piece. The print edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Up in Arms is arriving in stores later this month. Here's the latest from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. The old world is a dangerous place. With the Empire fractured within and threatened by enemies without, it is only wise to learn the skills of a soldier or to employ those who already have. Some may say that to live by the sword is to die by the sword, and there is truth to this. But in the wilds of the Empire, to refuse to live by the sword is to die by the sword even sooner. Ah! I like that. To refuse to live by the sword is to die by the sword even sooner. Up in Arms provides options and guidance for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay characters who follow warrior careers. It focuses on abilities that players and GMs can make use of to add variety and expertise to the fighting folk of the old world. This 144-page book contains a discussion of the cult of Myrmedia, giving the most comprehensive guide yet published to the beliefs and practices of those who worship the goddess of strategy. Soldiers of all stripes, detailing the experience of the rank-and-file members of the Empire's glorious state troops and providing new careers such as the handgunner, halberdier, and greatsword. A history of the role of mercenaries in the wars of the old world, including background and rules to support playing Tillian characters and other dogs of war. A guide to the renowned knightly orders of the Empire, with options for joining secular orders, Templar chapters, or going alone as a freelance knight. There's an expanded list of weapons and armor, from basic arms such as swords and axes, to exotic specialized equipment such as weighted nets and pavises. Rules for taking cover within vehicles and buildings, and counterpart rules for blowing vehicles and buildings up with devastating artillery. There's detail on the employment of hireling NPCs, including a system for generating individual quirks and work ethics. There's also optional and additional rules covering new endeavors, alternative approaches to critical injury, mounted combat, uses of advantage, pursuits, and talents. The 144-page hardcover arrives in stores on January 25th, carries an MSRP of $39.99, or you can grab the PDF right now at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. Very nice. Very, very nice. Flaming Heron says, if there was not already so much variety in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, then this just added more. There really is. There is a lot to WIFRP for players to create the kind of characters they want to play. So, you know I've rolled out my new series, Why You Should Play, and first episode, I talk about RuneQuest. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is slated for that series. I figured you probably expected that already, because I do love me some WIFRP. But just so you know. But this sounds like this is just jam-packed. Granted, it's 144 pages. I would have liked to have seen bit larger page count for the hardcover, but it's kind of what we're tending to see right now from Cubicle 7 Entertainment, about anywhere from about 130 to 150 pages in the in most of the hardcovers that are coming out. So very nice. So once again, this will be out the end of the month. I am going to reach out to the marketing person from Cubicle 7 Entertainment to see if I can grab a copy. Not sure, like I said before, if you follow the Gaming Gang, you know there's kind of upheaval going on with Cubicle 7 because of its incredible growth over the past year or two. So we'll find out. We'll see. I'm sure I can get a copy. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit DriveThruRPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop by paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. And thankfully, there are quite a few people out there who utilize either or the DriveThruRPG banner ads or paypal.me. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very, very much. Christopher Rush is popping in saying hello, although they can't stay. It's good to see you, Christopher. For some reason, like, hey, what's going on here? It's like, all of a sudden I have like a little frog in my throat. Get out of there. Yeah. So one thing I did want to mention now, before Christmas, I had shared the kind of the numbers to that date for the year. So I thought, just for the heck of it, I would share with you the final numbers for 2022 for the Gaming Gang channel. So, as you can see, over 300,000 views. Actually, this is really tiny on my screen. So, I know we brought in like 2.7K new subscribers this past year. It's like, forget how many thousand hours. So 37.4 thousand hours of views. So I know I mentioned it before when I shared the numbers the last time that, yeah, for most outlets, you know, big gaming outlets, they'd be like, big deal. Well, to me, it is a big deal. So, and it also shows that our numbers were up by like 25%, kind of across the board. So, pretty nice, pretty cool, I must admit. So, I just want to share that with you. All right, a couple of things I do want to talk about before we jump on into looking at Crescendo of Violence. And one of them is, people have been kind of curious what my thoughts about the new open gaming license from Dungeons and Dragons, if I had any thoughts about it. Because once again, as always, people are hand-wringing and getting all worked up, all bent out of shape. People are throwing out videos so they could get, 50,000 views, and they're just pulling shit out of their ass. Right? I mean, let's be real. Flaming Heron says those numbers are nothing to sneeze at. for a smaller channel. Yeah. I mean, so Kevin points out, thank you, Kevin. It's because this is where I was going. Kevin says, hard to have thoughts when we haven't seen the specifics. That is exactly it. People are getting all freaked out, all worked up, and we don't know what this new open gaming license is going to consist of. I would expect that it will be far more restrictive than it currently has been. I think that goes without saying. And of course, we already know the powers that be at Wizards of the Coast want Dungeons and Dragons to make more money. Which I think it was Omenal was in chat one night, it was before Christmas. I brought this up, you know, the whole CEO said, oh, we got to monetize D&D far better than we have. And of course, once again, all these people are freaking out. And I think it was Omenal said in chat, oh, imagine that, a corporation that wants to make more money. It's like, I know. Anyway, now I have not watched videos of people panicking, but I have seen them. They've been recommended to me on YouTube, and I see their titles. So I saw somebody had a video saying that this new open gaming license will be the death of Critical Role. Says who? It's like, come on. But I will have to say that Wizards of the Coast is not painting a rosy picture for themselves for gamers with a new open gaming license, as well as, you know, the discussion about we need to make more money. We need to have people who play D&D forking over cash on a monthly basis, like they've, you know, programmed players of Magic the Gathering to. So I can see why people are worried. I would not say jump the gun yet, but I can see why there's concern. And I said it before, I'm going to say it again. There are a ton of fantastic role-playing games out there. You do not have to play Dungeons and Dragons. You don't have to play 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. You can easily pick up very cheaply 3rd edition stuff, 2nd edition stuff for pretty low amount. It's the original D&D, the basic expert, the 1st edition advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Those are the ones that tend to go for quite a bit. And of course, you can pick up books that are pretty beaten up rather cheaply. Kevin says there's a fear that since the license is supposed to specifically exclude videos, that they're going to try to crack down on actual plays or get royalties from the more popular ones. I had heard that too. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. And to be very honest, there are channels out there that their livelihood depends on D&D. They would not survive without Dungeons and Dragons because that's what drives their audience. That there are channels out there who focus on D&D. So as an example, Mr. Eddie T says no skin off my back. I wouldn't say back. I tend to always say a different part of my body. It's not my nose either. But there are channels out there that when a new D&D book comes out, you know, like I will share a first look video and then I will share a review. It gets 2 videos. Well, you've got a lot of channels out there that spend 10 minutes, because remember, that's the magic time for YouTube videos. Magical. 10 minutes. And they'll have 20, 25 videos about a single book. Every tiny little aspect of that book. I don't do that. Now, if suddenly Wizards of the Coast starts cracking down on that, which personally I would think would be silly, because all it is just commercials for them, 10-minute commercials constantly about their books. But if they did crack down on that, that's going to be the end of those channels, unless they try to shift gears. But, just being a D&D channel, if you have halfway decent content, I mean, that's kind of, you're printing money. So I'm just not that fascinated by D&D, at least 5th edition D&D. I don't dislike it. You see me review stuff all the time. They don't get phenomenally high scores, usually. Although, The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, I really do like that adventure a lot. I think they did really well with that. And then I think it's funny because there are people out there who just absolutely hate that adventure. So Wancho says they don't think they've never played D&D. They don't think they've played any sort of medieval fantasy since Middle-earth role-playing. Wow. And that's not even, medieval. It's Middle-earth-ish. So Mr. ADT says, yeah, MERP was cool. That's a role-playing game that I just do not have the same sort of affinity for that a lot of other people did. And yes, it was another role-playing game that I picked up everything that came out for it. And I think I tried to run it twice. But it was another, I just got it all the time. So Tessie Trekkie says the Ravenloft and Eberron books were good. I liked Ravenloft. Eberron was fine, but I had no investment in Eberron to start with. So, but yeah, it was fine. But unfortunately, most of the 5e books that are coming out in the past couple of years, year and a half, they're more miss than hit. So Kevin says, I don't think the watered down Rollmaster of MERP was really a good fit for Middle Earth. Yeah, that's kind of how I looked at it too. And of course, there is that new version of Rollmaster. Iron Crown has reached out to me to ask me if I'd review it. And I said, well, once you have physical books, yeah, I'm more than happy to take a peek. But I've talked about Rollmaster in the past. Another role-playing game that I just don't have the love for that a lot of other people out there do. Anyway, all right. So that's all I wanted to mention, where, people are all like worked up about this open gaming license. And as Kevin pointed out, we don't even know what it is yet. So I don't know. I'm sure it won't be a boon. I highly doubt that. All right. So anyway, speaking of fantasy role-playing games, I am kicking around actually running Pathfinder 2nd Edition on Foundry. One of the reasons is that Paizo is partnered with Foundry, so their port to Foundry is top notch. And their latest adventures are actually, they're making adventures for Foundry. So kind of kicking around, maybe running a campaign. I mean, based on published material. That's why I'd be using Foundry with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, simply because I don't really have time to devote to, creating things for a virtual tabletop. But I might have a couple of openings for players, if anybody might be interested. So I would think we're probably going to be looking at Thursday evenings around 7 p.m. Central. probably for about 3 hours, no more than that. Flaming Heron says Foundry is probably one of the few virtual tabletops they haven't messed around with. I think it's really, really well done. I really do. I'm only just exploring it over the past couple of weeks that I've kind of dug in to it to kind of get under the hood, and I'm very impressed. I am super impressed. To be honest, if somebody's into Roll20 and they see Foundry, it's like goodbye Roll20, so long. See ya. Mr. Eddie T says that he likes Middle Earth role playing because it was the first role playing game they ever got or got into. Yeah, I can see that. I can understand that. Kevin says if Foundry has good character creation tools, it could be cool. Pathfinder 2e is a good system, but it benefits greatly from electronic tools to keep things straight, especially if you use a lot of supplements. It does. Now, from what I can tell, one of the cool things, because the open game license that Paizo uses is far friendlier than Wizards of the Coast's current open game license. And everything's already like built in. So every time there's like a new book that comes out, like a new book that's got player options and feats and things like that, all gets updated into the Pathfinder like core rules that you can get for Foundry absolutely free. So it is completely free. I think a lot of people don't realize that you can actually get everything from Pathfinder 2nd Edition rules-wise free online. And off the top of my head, I can't remember the website. But it's a website that has everything. And when something new is introduced, it gets added to it. Now, granted, it's all online. So there is that. So Kevin says, yeah, they like that. Much better deal than Roll20. I tried Roll20 a couple of times. I was not running the game. I was playing. I know, amazing, right? I was going to play. Brings a tear to my eye. And I was not impressed with Roll20 at all. So Kevin says, two that they know of, Wanderer's Guide and Pathfinder. I think it is Wanderer's Guide. I think that's the one. All right. So just wanted to throw that out there. If you are interested, you can always leave me a comment in the comment section, or you can shoot me an email to Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com. So we're going to be diving on into Crescendo of Violence from Osprey Games. But first, I don't know. I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
It's cause for celebration. Now you can enjoy a real taste thrill right here. Yes, it's the all-American favorite, hamburgers, prepared from selected choice beef. A feast in itself. Charbroiled to give you that cooked outdoors taste. Hot and ready to serve you right now. Cooked just right. Goodness you can see and taste.
Come and get 'em!
Yes, come and get 'em. Better make tracks right now to the refreshment stand. There's one waiting for you. Any age is the right age for a hamburger. You want more? Well, it looks like fun burger time. And for that extra taste treat, top it with the goodness of golden mellow cheese. A cheeseburger, put together just the way you like it. A man-sized meal everybody enjoys.
Come and get 'em!
Hungry, but the ordinary things don't seem to appeal? Then try one of our frozen delicacies. They're taste treats that hit the spot, refreshing and cooling without being too filling, satisfying without being too rich. Give yourself and the whole gang a taste dividend. Select the frozen treat that pleases you.
Help, I've been imprisoned.
Why, fair damsel?
I don't drink Wilkins instant coffee.
Well, that's the way the old ball bounces.
And what can I do for you, little man?
Hey, watch that little man stuff. I'm very sensitive about my height.
Well, I only called you little man because I don't know your name.
You want to know my name? Ask!
All right. What's your name?
Shorty. And I want to buy some candy.
Oh, may I suggest?
Yeah, hold the sales talk. I know what I want.
Oh, I was only going to suggest Chunky, the finest bar of milk chocolate you can buy.
Yeah, I'll take a Chunky.
Chunky, it's filled with crunchy cashews, sun-ripened raisins, and Brazil nuts.
I'll take a Chunky.
And only Chunky has that extra special chunky shape, extra thick for extra flavor.
All right, Gabby, release the merchandise already. Chunky. What a chunk of chocolate.
All right, so what exactly was the director of that hamburger spot thinking when they had the woman turn, come and get 'em? It's like, hey, cover up your face. Should have been, come and get 'em. And then that kid, all right, Jimmy, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine you're a statue standing there holding this hamburger. And then when I hand you another hamburger, grab that and then just hold that like you're a statue too. Kevin says they've heard of Chunky, but they don't think they've ever had one. Nowadays, they're different because I think back in, I think that's like a early 60s commercial. It was just all chocolate. Now Chunky has nuts and raisins in it, and it's a far bigger candy bar, far bigger block of candy. This Von 92 says he was learning. Yeah, it was Roger Corman. Roger Corman shot it. First thing he ever filmed. So he improved, thankfully. All right, so tonight we're going to dive on into Crescendo of Violence from Osprey Games. It's written by Alan Bahr with artwork provided by Andrew Thompson. This 144-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $35, or you can grab the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $24.50. So let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Crescendo of Violence, a neo-noir role-playing game. I could have swore, isn't Blade Runner supposed to be neo-noir? Or neon noir? Yeah, right, that's what it says, neon noir. I could have swore that's, because we talked about this when I did my review of Blade Runner, both the starter set and the core rulebook, and when I did my first look videos about how it's not cyberpunk. And people have argued with me, oh, no. Blade Runner is cyberpunk. And it's like, no, it's not. It is not cyberpunk. It's dystopian. It is not cyberpunk. So taking a look at back here, and I will point out, I can tell we're going to see that small Osprey Games font. 2093, Neo York. Damn, I still have that little frog in my throat. Go away, little frog. All right, let's start that from the top. Come and get 'em. 2093, Neo York, a dystopian technological marvel where concrete high-rises brim with holographic neon. As gilded mob bosses flashy CEOs, and famous vid stars all strive to consolidate their power over the masses. And while the rain reflects the neon, it never washes away the grime and filth of the streets. Welcome to a world of synth jazz and cybernetics, where the status quo grinds down the hardworking man and fat-grown clone alike. Whether you're the redemption-seeking gangster, the one good cop in a corrupt system, or the gene-modded musician trying to make it big, you'll be trying to get by in a city that just doesn't care. Epic fight scenes take center stage in this game of stylized, high-octane bloodshed. Jump straight into the action with a unique rule set designed to deliver a cinematic neon noir experience as the spotlight focuses on the brutal showdowns that will define you or leave you face down in the dirt. So get ready to give them hell as the sultry notes of the saxophone build into a crescendo of violence. Jumping on in. Flaming Heron says Blade Runner does indeed list itself as the neon noir right there on the back of the core rulebook. Yep. Kevin says Blade Runner can't be cyberpunk. It came out before Neuromancer. That's a good point. That's a good point there. Can't be cyberpunk if it came out before William Gibson. So, all right, let's see what we've got here. Oh, look at this. Talking about neon. Blinding. So this is Alan Bahr, and Alan Bahr does a lot of role-playing games for Gallant Knight Games. In fact, I think he's the owner. And I'm kind of curious as far as, because I've seen him design some games for other publishers. So kind of like, is this like maybe more of a mature kind of audience that this is for? So let's check out a little bit of the forward here. It is my belief that the author of every role-playing game should make an attempt to communicate the goal of their game, what it's about, and work to ensure the reader has every understanding of intent that can be made available to them. In many ways, Crescendo of Violence is the most ambitious game I've ever designed. That's a good thing, and the process of getting to this final text has really made me improve as a designer. It is a blend of rules-light mechanics, narrative story-first mechanics, and structured rules for high-octane action. Crescendo of Violence is a toolkit game designed to tell a very specific type of story, a high-action, high-violence, gun-fu noir story set in a cybered-out future. So there we have it. All right. Tessie Trek says, I love the premise on this game that there was a corporate cyberpunk period in the world's history, but it ended because the corporations got too greedy. Nice, very cool. So, should point out a few things before we get too far in. Fine folks over at Osprey Games did provide me with this review copy. But of course, neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And as I say it all the time, it's important you know that. We're not going to look at each and every page. So we are going to get a good feel for what's in this book. And of course, I'm going to be hanging out here. So I'll be cutting off a little bit of the upper left portion of the book. Right there. This isn't cyberpunk. It says, welcome to Crescendo of Violence, a jazz and cinema-inspired role-playing game that blends heroic bloodshed and neo-noir into an action-packed, high-octane, and improvisational wire and gun-fu role-playing experience set in a cybered-up retro future dystopia. That is a mouthful. And once again, as you can see, the font is kind of small. What is heroic bloodshed? Film critic Imogen Sarah Smith said, film noir is like a plant that springs up after fires. It thrives in destabilized and wounded societies. Noir is generally viewed as the byproduct of war and conflict, but many events can wound a society and culture. Crescendo of Violence presents a world wounded by an ecological disaster and fractured by the solutions, which are good and healthy, but misused by those in power. The scars of this disaster run deep and have caused a societal trauma that is manifested in a lost generation of individuals pulled into crime, violence, and escapism through music in this case. Flaming Heron says, the book is self-aware. It knows the questions people would ask. So it looks like we get kind of a, hey, what's a role-playing game? The most important detail. Role-playing games are group activity. Maximizing the fun of the group is the only way to win. To that end, these rules were made to be broken, hacked, and mutilated. It's like we get a timeline of our world here. Discussion about Neo York, which is formerly New York. It's like we've got a lot of bullet point, well, not bullet points, but kind of right to the heart of things. With just a few paragraphs or even a single paragraph. So we have the wealthiest people in Neo York. The Neo Nostra, the classic gangsters of American cinema. When someone says mafia, this is generally who they're referring to. While the name Cosa Nostra classically refers to the Sicilian mafia, hollow plays have populated the term Neo Nostra, which has taken root in the minds of general public as a go-to term for the American mafia. Okay, so talking about crime, a little bit of law enforcement, lifestyle, mega corporations, hypermedia productions. Let's all smile together. So we are getting our background first. Now we are getting into the actual gameplay. At its core, Crescendo of Violence uses a very simple mechanic, the test. When a player wishes to have their character do something or act in a way that carries risk or narrative impact, the player and GM determine what path the character will take to achieve it. There are 8 paths: the cautious, the clever, the dramatic, the empathetic, the fast, the resolute, the sneaky, and the violent. So, are those going to be our attributes? Maybe. Basic tests are simple to resolve and are used when a PC is trying to overcome a static obstacle. To make a basic test, roll a number of D10s equal to your PC's rating for the appropriate path. Keep the highest results rolled and compare it to the test's difficulty rated from 1 to 10. If the result equals or exceeds the difficulty, your PC is successful. A result of 10 on the dice is always successful. A result of 1 is not an automatic failure, although a difficulty 1 test is impossible to fail. Aha. That's easy peasy there. So we have actions, we have action tokens. Each player has 3 action tokens, 1 red, 1 yellow, 1 green, that represent what you can do and how well you can do it. You must spend all your action tokens before you gain any back. Interesting. Unless another rule allows you to bypass this. After you spend all your action tokens, you immediately gain all 3 back, unless another rule, such as death, overrides this. You should always have between 1 and 3 action tokens at your disposal. You must You must spend an action token whenever you take an action and roll dice, or if another rule tells you to. You also lose action tokens as a result of taking damage. Spending green means you have good luck. You gain plus 2d10 to that test. Spending yellow, just balanced, you get no bonus or penalty. Spending your red means you're operating at a disadvantage. So it's minus 2d10 on that test. Fun and failure. It can be tempting to game the system by using your red action token on an action where there's no consequence for failure. Don't do this. Action should be dramatic, and as such, if you try to blow your red token on a wasted action, the GM will likely put a stop to it, and they should. Instead, embrace the fun of dramatic failure. Let the dice fall where they may, and work with the GM to set up the next part of the story based on the roll not going your way. So as we can see, this is going to be a storytelling game. It is not going to be a crunchy sort of experience. Tokenless tests. Sometimes a GM might feel some tests are worth rolling, but action tokens aren't appropriate. In this case, they can simply declare a test to be tokenless and have the player roll without spending an action token, functionally giving them a free bonus yellow action token for the test. This rule should be used sparingly, as the action token economy is core to the game. That's interesting. That's a little unusual. I haven't run across anything like that before. Of course, there are games out there where you have a certain number of actions. You have an action economy in just about any role-playing game. But they actually have tokens where one is, with your advantage, one is just, straight up, and the other is with a disadvantage. That's kind of interesting. So we also have momentum. That must be kind of a bonus there. 3 ways to gain bonus experience points. Yep. Putting a portion of the player's experience point gain in their own hands allows them to control their destiny. However, if all they do is gain experience points, they will eventually be brought low by their enemies as they upset all their contacts, their heat gets too high, and they run out of luck. So we have story structure. The design of Crescendo of Violence is built on the idea that each time you sit down to play, the game follows a particular story structure. Each session consists of 5 acts. The intro, Act 1, 2, Act 3, and the outro, which is after the climax. So then we get a breakdown of what each of those is, how we're going to set those up. We get an example session. Then it looks like we've got our Game Master facing material here. Character creation. First, you need to think about the sort of character you want to play. Talk some of your ideas through with the GM and the other players. Everyone's character should feel unique, but also have something that ties them together with the other PCs. If it helps, you can answer some or all the following questions to get a feel for who your character is and what they're about. So you're going to choose an origin, choose a profession, which will, I guess, give you 2 talents. You're going to choose a 3rd talent. And that looks like that's pretty it. That's your character creation pretty quick. So we have origins, we have natural, so just a human being, bioroids, clones, cyborgs, and Gen G. So they're augmented. They're augmented humans. So our professions: criminal, hacker, holostar, investigator, musician, a suit, veteran. So those are our occupations. Then our different talents, which you would get 3 total, it looks like. So we've got some like favorite weapon, killer. You're a professional assassin, one of the best. Your damage rolls are increased by 1d10, and you gain 1 momentum whenever you kill a target. You also have maverick, sniper, sleuth. You're an expert investigator with a nose for evidence. You gain plus 1d10 on tests made to gather evidence at a scene or question witnesses. So it looks like we've got maybe 25 or so talents. Flaming Heron says, I know Gun Fu, taking some artistic license with that. So we've got our equipment. So we've got our gear, weapons, armor, cybernetics, hacking and the wet nets, NPCs. So we got a few example NPCs here. Contacts and allies, and then our character sheet, which is two-sided. And that is Crescendo of Violence from Osprey Games, written by Alan Bahr. And I will have a review of this in the very near future. I actually have reviews of Gran Mechanismo, which I shot. I haven't uploaded it yet. And I'm ready to review Dark City. So, wait a second. Hard City. What? Dark City. Yeah, I can review that movie. All right. So, stay tuned. Once again, this is available right now. The hardcover carries an MSRP of $35, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $24.50. Sweet. Interesting. So Flaming Heron says, Dark City is a great movie. Yeah, I know. I love that movie. This looks interesting. And you know what? This looks like one of those games where you can jump right on into it pretty easily. Mechanically, it's, you know, you're just rolling tests, right? You got D10s, then you're going to have a difficulty number of 1 to 10. So you just have to exceed that. Now, I'm curious if you have like degrees of success and failure. I didn't see anything in there about that. So like if you were rolling 3 D10s and it's a difficulty like 8 and you end up rolling like 18 total, I don't know. I'm kind of curious. All right. So that is it for this time out. Tomorrow night, it is a War Game Wednesday. We're going to be taking a look at Twilight Struggle, Red Sea Conflict in the Horn of Africa from GMT Games, and I am really looking forward to checking this out. This is kind of an offshoot from Twilight Struggle. So it's a standalone game. Supposed to be able to play it in about 60 to 90 minutes. Pretty sweet. So we're going to be diving on into that on tomorrow's show. Monday, we're going to take a peek at the Imperial Zoo for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay from my pals over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. I am bouncing around, maybe doing a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay week next week. Maybe. All depends on what shows up. So if something shows up where it's like, oh my gosh, people, I'm sure people really want to take a peek at this. Maybe not. But I am leaning heavily towards doing a WIFRIP week on the Dispatch. Okay, so if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also inform you when I upload other videos, such as my Why Should You Play RuneQuest video, which is actually doing very well. I think it's cracked 2,000 views already. It's only been up a couple of days. So sweet. Good start to a new series. I'm glad that's doing okay. Anyway, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. Those of you who watch live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, much bigger thanks, because not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company while I'm, reading through sell sheet info and babbling on about various things. So thank you very much. Of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch this live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I really, really do appreciate the fact any of you take time out of your busy lives to watch any of the videos here on the channel. Thank you very, very kindly. All right, and of course, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. That's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.